So after we finish finding out how many miles Martin drove, we end up with 53,558. We need to assess the reasonableness of our answer from part B using our estimate from part A. Okay? So if we take a look, we see that our estimate was 53,000 and our precise, accurate, exact number is 53,558. Now 53,558 would not round to 53,000 because of that 5 in the hundreds place. But our answer is still reasonable because they're still pretty close. We still have the same number of thousands. So moving on to our last page here, question number 4. We have a class read 3,452 pages the first week, okay, and then 4,090 more pages in the second week. Notice that more than in the first week. How many pages had they read by the end of the second week? Is your answer reasonable? And explain using estimation. Okay, so we have our first week and we have our second week. Okay, so our first week we have 3,452. Okay, now our second week they read more than that. Okay, they read 4,090 more. Okay, which means this section right here is 3,452. Now our total here is what we're trying to find out. Okay, so first let's start off with our estimation. Okay, so we would round 3,452, okay, to the nearest thousand would be 3,000, and then 4,090 rounded to the nearest thousand would be 4,000. Okay, so now to get our estimate for the 2 weeks, we have about 3,000 for the first week, and then our second week was 3,000 and 4,000. Okay, so we add these up, okay, and we get 10,000. Okay, so our estimate to start off with is 10,000. So now let's go ahead and add up our actual numbers. Okay. 5 plus 5 is 10, plus 9 is 19. 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. 3 plus 3 is 6, plus 4 is 10. So we get 10,994. Okay. Now, again, this is not going to round to 10,000, but it's still fairly close. Okay. Because we rounded each of these numbers down, that's going to get us a little bit farther away from our actual number. But we still have the same number of thousands, so we can still say that we're pretty close. Okay. So the class read 10,994 pages. Okay. My answer is reasonable because my estimate was 10,000, which is close to 10,994. Okay, so again, it doesn't need to round to your estimate, it just needs to be somewhat close. Okay. Alright, so moving on to part B, or I'm sorry, number 5. A cargo plane weighed 500,000 pounds. After the first load was taken off, the airplane then weighed 437,981 pounds. Then 16,478 more pounds were taken off. What was the total number of pounds of cargo removed from the plane? Is your answer reasonable? Okay. Alright, so we have our airplane. Okay. So we have our total of 500,000. Okay, so we're going to have to do this in a couple of parts. So here's our total for the airplane with cargo. Okay, so some cargo comes off, and it's now 437,981 pounds. Okay, so first thing we need to do is find out how many pounds were taken off that first time, because we want to know the total number of pounds removed. So the first thing we need to do is find out how many pounds were removed the first time. Okay, now we're going to do some estimation with this. Okay, so we have our 500,000. Okay, and we're going to subtract. Now, because I have this number over here that's only in the 10,000s place, whereas these are in the 100,000s place, I'm actually going to round to the nearest 10,000 for this problem. Okay. So I'm going to round this to 44 10,000s. Okay. Just so that I'm rounding to the same place each time. Okay, so now I go to subtract this out. Okay, and we get 60,000. So about 60,000 pounds were removed. Alright, well now we have to add that to the pounds that were taken off the second time. So now we're going to take our 16,478 pounds, round it again to the nearest 10,000. In this case it would be 20,000. So now we're going to take 60,000 plus our 20,000, okay, and we get 80,000. So our estimate here is going to be about 80,000 pounds were taken off the plane. Okay, so now let's solve it for our actual number here. So let's take our 500,000 minus 437,981. Okay, let's first solve to find out how many actual pounds were taken off the first time. So we've got a bunch of zeros here, so we're going to go all the way out to the 100,000s place. And so our 50,000 tens becomes 49,999 tens, so we can have our 10 ones. Okay, now we can subtract. Okay. We have 62,019 pounds were taken off that first trip. And we can see that's very close to our estimate. Okay, so now we need to take that 62,019 and add it to the 16,478 that was taken off the second time. Okay. Alright, we get 78,497 total pounds of cargo taken off, which, if we round to the nearest 10,000, gets us 80,000. So we know our answer is reasonable. Okay. So 78,497 pounds were taken off the plane. Okay, my answer is reasonable. Because my estimate was 80,000 and 78,497 rounds to 80,000. Okay, so we know that we have a reasonable answer.